Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Guns of Navarone, RMP, Troy Shuka, Bose Nail, Justin Duso, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Harry Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick, Erwin Jennisons, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Alexander Main, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. I'm going to raise the mic on whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Oh yeah, when you asked him for a bag of nines.
oh yeah, I asked Rumpus for a bag of nines, yeah.
Hey Neil.
What's up, Trent? How are you?
Good, good. A box of nines.
Either way.
I had a tape measure. I was going to offer. I think I did offer to measure a nine.
I can just see Neil. That was an interesting show yesterday.
It certainly was.
had it all, I'd say.
Yeah, lots of people contacted me in the aftermath of the show, various comments about it.
Well, Rumpus was just tripping over himself with so many double speaks.
That's all he does.
Well, I mean,
he gets
more
caught.
more so that show than others. I mean, he had. See, I'm looking at my notes here. Measuring things is not math. Numbers are physical property. Science is about measuring numbers. And then, what's this one? Independent variable is a number. That was the best.
And the funny thing is, he claims Nathan's a science denier.
I know.
All kind of par for the course, but as you say, some great quotes in there.
That's great. It was just one after another. It was like I had to go on mute and laugh. It was so funny. It was like, oh, this is great. Keep coming.
It's a shame about Witsit. So in case anybody was wondering why I got so riled up with it yesterday, it's because I actually care about that particular subject. You know, obviously it's been discussed at great length about how that progression is happening. But when your own side just demonstrates such severe cognitive dissonance, it's just such a big disappointment.
Yeah, well, you don't cut us slack when you hold us down, so it's not like you're picking on him.
Wait, what happened? I missed that part. You said it's a shame about what? What's it? You said?
Indeed.
Yeah.
I missed it. Feed me in the details.
Well, he's got an assumption, a belief in this bias downwards. There isn't one.
Oh yeah, I know that. He was on yesterday?
Yeah, he came on and he went on that. And when we asked him for proof for it, it was just his version of how he believes it. And Nathan said, that's basically, if I'm summarizing it right, that's not good enough. You need to prove it or you need to concede. And then it just got crazy after that.
He did concede. There is no downward vector attributable to gas, and he knows it. Well,
No,
there's no
he
bias.
did, but then he conceded and said, "You're right," but then he went back and held the position, is what I mean by not conceding.
So does
Exactly.
he, when he concedes, but does he say only for gases?
Yeah, kind of.
Like
In so many words,
yeah,
yes.
I knew it.
Well, that's, holding both positions that are mutually exclusive of one another. Either there is a bias, not there's a bias, but well, not when it's gas, then there's no bias. Can't hold both positions simultaneously as being true, therefore cognitive dissonance.
Especially when he says everything is electrostatic. He didn't say everything but gas.
Yeah, so by his rhetoric with a bias downwards, if it's got charge like everything's got charged and is non sequitur about electrostatic charges and forces, well, it's like, well, they're not making gas go down. So it's a complete non sequitur when you're describing how gas expands in all directions with no downward bias. Like, so what if they've got electrostatic forces? Who cares? They're not going down. There is no bias.
Well, that was the debate with Brian he had, where Brian says, well, if you can prove that this electrostatic makes things goes down, that'd be one thing, but you haven't proven that. That's just your theory, and not the scientific one at that.
Well, when he said that here, I just said they don't, as opposed to asking to proving I can demonstrate that with gas. That violates their assumption of the downward vector. That's a bias for stuff. Well, gas is stuff. It's not going down. There is no bias. Depends on the density in the medium it's in.
Then Anthony showed that a solid and a gas didn't match what he was saying, because the solid would have been the egg, and the gas is obviously the helium in the balloon.
Yeah, he's got a lot of stuff going on with it. He's got this whole thing on his channel about Trump being the Antichrist. So he's like 24/7. He needs to give his brain a rest.
Okie doke.
So are you saying too many subject matters for one to be an expert on?
Well, no, he's a smart kid. I mean, you can't deny that. He freaking reads so fast. It's like I can't even keep up with him. But sometimes that could get in the way of you facing reality.
Yeah. You experience reality. You read books.
Well, look at this downward vector he's on about. Nathan's telling him gases go up, so that proves that everything doesn't go down, but he's stuck there.
Well, they want a universal down. There isn't such a thing.
Correct. So, but there is in their world, there's a universal down for everything but gases.
And eggs.
But you'd have to change the medium in the egg, right?
Oh, well, that's the point.
Yep. But does it count that trees grow up when they're planted? They grow up. I mean, some stuff grows down, like carrots, right?
Yeah, the root vegetables, but yeah, trees even on angled hillsides always grow up, and
Right. I mean, we grow up. We don't grow down.
speak for yourself.
It's unfortunate. I stopped growing up at 5'6", but terrible.
Just right.
Very, very, very embarrassing when you can't reach something in the supermarket and you got to ask a lady to grab it for you.
Well, that's a good way to meet people. That's funny.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Red Man.
Good morning. Good morning. Hey,
How's
hey,
it going?
What's
Hey,
that?
Super Warrior.
Yo, Alwyn's starting early lately, right? Alwyn's been starting his show at 7 o'clock.
Hey,
Yeah,
Sleepy
he's wet the bed
Warrior.
a few times. He's wet the bed a few times recently. He's been on quite early.
Any response to your challenge,
Of
Warrior?
course not. He won't. He won't do it. Can't do it, and never will. He now claims that he won't. He doesn't debate. He's a bit like Simon Dan.
Oh, you mean after yesterday he doesn't debate?
Apparently so.
I see. Well, he had the after show with Whitsitt after Brian's Logic, and Whitsitt went and spent over an hour debating with Whitsitt about his debate with Brian. Is he a consultant or what?
What are we talking about?
Bob.
Ask that again, 10th. I didn't catch it.
Well, after Brian's
Bob will
Logic,
never debate.
after Brian's Logic had the debate with Whitsitt, there was an after show with Whitsitt and Bob Nodell, and they spent well over an hour. And Bob was talking about how Whitsitt did good and Brian's points were bad and how Whitsitt made sense, blah, blah, blah. So he must be a consultant of debaters.
Well, he's the ringleader, isn't he? That's why it has to be. It was brilliant yesterday from a tactical position because Bob basically, regardless of what happened yesterday, Bob was able to distance himself from stuff. And no matter how good or bad either Nathan or Thompson or Whitsitt did, because he's able to distance himself, there's no progression. And it's like, well, I was able to take advantage of that by doing nothing. So Oakley dealt with Thompson and Whitsitt brilliantly because by proxy, I was able to sit back and watch in exactly the same way that Bob did or was able to do the same. But I'm quite happy to have the conversation. But Bob now just won't debate. But we all know why. He can't do it because he knows he's cornered against scientific method.
Do not cross Bob.
You can't make someone debate if they don't want to
hold
debate,
on a second, 10th. When you're off mute, all I can hear is this high-pitched whistle and this rustling sound. Sorry.
Sorry.
So you know.
It's as if the microphone's rubbing against your beard or something.
It's actually rubbing against my shirt. No, holding it up now.
Jolly good.
Off with his head.
Off with his head.
I'm very sensitive to this stuff now, so yeah, just be aware.
This is my best Queen example.
That the Nathan's sound room is so perfect, he picks up every little noise and we walk.
That's the point. Well, that's the point. That's the whole point in doing it. So it might not be the case that if you're listening on a phone that you'd actually hear what I've just told you off for. People might be going, well, I couldn't hear anything. It's all right. It's minor. But because I can hear it before it's a massive problem, then I can say, can you stop doing that? And then it just stops. Whereas prior to that, it might be the point where even I can't hear it as a massive problem. And then when I went back to the iPad and listened to it, you're like, oh my God, it sounds awful. So much better than I just catch these things. That's the point.
Just remember, for a minor problem on this show, off with his head.
No, quite the contrary.
I'm having fun.
Hey, 10th man.
Yeah.
Can you check your DMs?
Yeah, let me go on mute.
Yeah, I took no pleasure whatsoever dealing in with Nathan and Whitsitt yesterday.
It's so confusing having two Nathans because you have to follow them up with Thompson or Oakley, and then it's a tongue twister. Better off just referring to them by surname at the minute.
Well,
Why, Nathan Thompson's on that downward vector too?
He was much more conciliatory, to be fair, and a bit more overt in his obfuscation tactics, which were easy to point out without him rumpusing through it. Because he did that once. I highlighted it, and then as an obfuscation, he's like, "So I'm rumpusing, am I?" I'm like, well, no, now you're obfuscating. And then it was very calmly pointed out to him. Now with Whitsitt, he's a lot more enthusiastic, so you can imagine how that went. But in many respects, he behaved like your typical fundy with a globe belief, because he's punting part of gravity that he believes in, and that's no different. It's just got a belief in gravity. But he was very passionate about it. Well, so am I. I'm passionate with dealing with nonsense.
He's got that thing where, in what was it called with Thundercats, where he pulls out his sword and he's got the eye of the tiger in the hand and he aims it at something and he's got this strength when he does it. Whitsitt's got that same thing when he says incoherent dielectric acceleration. That's pulling out his sword and going, I've got my sword of invincibility. I've got incoherent dielectric acceleration. And when I say that, you will crumble to a mush on the floor. Because that's how he perceives it. He uses sophistry to make his point. But when you ask him to explain it, there comes a big problem, because when you break down those three words into what they actually mean, they don't actually mean anything. It's not even descriptive. So, what point are you actually making other than using it to sound intelligent? And there isn't a point.
It's a non sequitur fallacy. So when you say it's it's the what was the guy's name? It was Lionel's sword. Example. Well, no, because without hesitation, I pointed out as a non sequitur fallacy. It's like if you're saying that Earth has got a dielectric, incoherent magnetic field, and so does everything else. Well, that's only pertinent if everything is under the assumption which they purvey that things are going down. And they're not. It's like, well, is a helium balloon stuff? Does it have an incoherent dielectric magnetic field? But it's going up! So it's like this completely pisses in the face of that assertion if your assertion is that there's a downward bias. Because there isn't. It's just that simple.
Yeah, Redman, I went there. The video or the pictures or both?
It's the video.
Yeah,
I caught that from that same building. Nice sunrise. Y'all take a look at it if you want to.
I'll put it in Master B. This is Redman's video on Redman's channel.
I assume there's no audio on it, right?
No audio.
Okay. There we go. That's the right button. Okay, we're on the bit where it goes a bit grainy and you can see something lit up on a hill in the distance. Can you talk us through from here?
Yeah, what you see right there where it gets grainy, that's the top of that mountain with a Christmas tree on top. The mountain itself is 14 miles away, and that Christmas tree is huge.
Yeah, looked it.
That's freaking cool.
Which floor were you on again?
Band of light.
I'm on the 49th floor.
49th floor.
Yeah, I was just looking at the beautiful the colors, what the sun was throwing on the sky was awesome looking.
That's channel REDD space MANN 116. So Red Man 116 is the name of the channel. I've stuck a link to it in the live stream, so when we start, people will see it. Although I have actually set this as a pre-scheduled one. I have it as members only.
That's all good. No problem.
Julio, thank you for sharing that.
Nathan, I just posted 2 more pictures from Redman. That's cool. Why don't you go over your pictures?
Got them up.
I'm about to go.
You there, Redman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just started.
What I did. Sorry.
It's us stepping all over you, Red Man. Go ahead.
What I did was I took the picture and I changed the contrast of the picture. And if you looking at the mountain itself, you can see the horizon going further in the distance, and it just looks like a little hump. If you look at the bottom of the mountain itself, it just it's almost like the ground itself is engulfing the mountain, but the mountain is a whole lot bigger than that.
Gotcha. You can see a line behind it, and then at the point, presumably of the most limited angle, as it's right on the horizon, it's compressed to the point where you can't see anything. The angle's too limited. But it doesn't mean that you can't see further than that point. So you've got a horizon behind it. That's epic. Very cool.
If I had a P900, I could probably go further. Working on that.
Badass. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you for sticking it in Master B as well. 10th. Slick administration from the Flat Earth debate team.
Yeah, thank you, Redman.
All right, I'm pop myself back on mute.
So what show was this, yesterday's show, so I could listen to it?
1314.
1314.
You can't listen to it unless you're a member. You have to become a member at the moment. It'll be released, I think it's Christmas Day I'll release it. I don't know exactly, I haven't worked it out.
Hey Nathan, that reminds me, somebody in the after show that wasn't in the after show that should have been, that's a member, was asking why can't he hear the after show even though he's a member, and I said I don't know, you'll have to speak to Nathan. Did you catch up with him?
Oh, you can. Maybe it just asked you prior to it actually being published, because it takes I have to actually making the right.
I don't know, there's somebody that was asking that why can't he, and I said don't know, speak to Nathan. So if you get approached by someone, he's not a troll. Well,
it has been viewed. It's been viewed the most times by any member-only video ever. So typically a members-only video might get 20, maybe 30 views if it's a well-received video. This one's had 60 in less than a day. It's members only. No one else has got access to it. So it's been an extremely well-received video. Again, I go by how many people have viewed it. Like with anything, it doesn't matter that it's members only. How many comments they leave, how many of them thumbs it up. So when it's at 13 thumbs up and 60 plus views and, I don't know, half a dozen or more comments from members only, you go, oh, all right, this has been well received then. And people kept contacting me. I know you contacted me yesterday about the live show, but then people in the aftermath, people sent me emails, people were contacting me about all sorts of different means.
Definitely one of the better shows because it was like friendly fire, wasn't it? It was like flat earth on flat earth. No ballers were required. I love it when it's like that because ballers can't even criticise because they don't even understand the arguments.
Yeah, not only do they not understand the arguments, there's no necessity for them to interject with their nonsense assertions because that's not being debated. So it's like, where are you going to come in? Who are you going to tell is nonsense? Oh, well, they're both just stupid. It's wonderful. They're both idiots arguing. It's like, is that the best?
Yeah, the best thing they come back with. The best thing they come back with is FE's imploded on itself, and we're like, shut up, you idiots.
No, what's happening is there's arguing going amongst the trenches. I.e., we're amongst ourselves, and there's no one on the battlefield, and there's no one in their trenches, and there's no one in the fields behind the trenches, and there's no one in any of the barracks, and there's no one anywhere near it. So what are you going to do? So you end up talking amongst yourselves. That's what's happening.
Hello.
Flat Earth Egypt.
It's also funny because I was hanging around after the show, after you guys, you know that there are a bunch of ballers that hang around. There was also a bunch of flat earthers, and they were disputing both their ideas of gravity, and it was funny to watch, actually.
The Owl Sleeping Warrior. You make such a racket. Thanks. They were similar thing in the. Go ahead.
No, I just want to know this happened after Rumpus or before Rumpus with the Witsit and Nathan Thompson.
Before.
Okay.
No. In the live show, there was Nathan Thompson, and apparently, according to him, he was being messaged by Witsit as he was discussing the subject with me, and then Witsit joined of his own volition, and then after the live show, Witsit, who I thought had gone, really just had an issue, he'd dropped and then rejoined very shortly afterwards, so he hadn't run away, as I disclaimed on the live show. That was a bit unreasonable, because he just immediately came back, just to make that clear. And then Rumpus took up the reins immediately, caused a lot of chaos, and gave us some really good, glorious quotes along the way. And according to Flat Earth Egypt, after that, there was other Flat Earth on Flat Earth action.
Sounds like I missed a good one.
It was actually Flat Earth against Globe, but they were both disputing the idea of gravity and their own.
See.
Models.
I see. So while we say there is no downward bias here, you might not say that, Flat Earth Egypt. I'm not attributing that to you. It's not the point. But while I specifically would say that, we've also got other people who appreciate the Earth is obviously an observable planet, but still think there's gravity. And they were arguing with ballers who assert gravity as a non-force force. You can think of it as a force, but it's not actually a force because it's depending of a conceptual medium. So those two opposing gravities were fighting. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it was really funny.
We got a small taste of that with Witsit, because basically Rumpus, clever sod that he is, decides to align with Witsit. Well, Witsit's understanding that there is a downward vector towards the centre of the Earth, and he's just basically egging him on, saying, "Yeah, you're on my side here now, aren't you, son?" It was quite comical.
Also, a lot of people were having comments about Rumpus and how much leniency you're giving him, because you were just basically giving him the mic, man. It was horrible. The Rumpus is so bad to hear, man. Because I had an argument with him once after one of your shows, because like I said, they hang around after you guys are gone, and we had a discussion about Coriolis, and I figured out they actually think Coriolis is a force, an actual force, not an apparent or a fictitious one, but an actual force, and they have a calculation for it. Did you know that?
Yes, yeah, I'm well aware. It's not that they think that. It's dependent on when they're arguing what. So in trench level, they have to assert that there's no deflection, which is Coriolis effect, not actual deflection. Talk in real terms as opposed to what they argue here when they need to argue that there is no deflection, or that it's conserving something because it does so. So they'll give an example with a puck moving on a rotating surface, right? And then calculate the conservation of angular momentum. Am I wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, that's not Coriolis effect, unfortunately, as you've correctly identified. It's not actual deflection, caused by you rotating underneath things not attached, like Earth rotating underneath footballs, or Earth rotating underneath pendulums, or Earth rotating underneath gyroscopes. That's Earth rotating underneath to cause not actual deflection. So they just argue the contrary position because it's easier to argue from a position of seeming non-understanding or misinterpretation of Coriolis than argue about the fact we don't see the effect. So if you can convolute the effect itself, you end up arguing about the effect and its description rather than the fact that Earth doesn't exhibit it. So it's just a ploy in the trenches. But if you look at what they actually assert, they assert Earth has Coriolis effect, and Coriolis effect is a non-inertial spinning reference frame turning underneath an inertial reference frame. That's what it is. The observation as you turn underneath of things not actually drifting, but seeming to drift as you turn underneath them. That's Coriolis deflection. They assert Earth's got it. We just don't turn underneath things not attached, because we'd notice planes with their shortened flight times. So instead of arguing about how we don't see Coriolis effect, they change it to a force when it's not a force, so we can argue about that instead. Because then there's no damage done at the end of a convoluted argument about how it's a force. It's actually conservation of momentum. It's like, no, conservation of momentum's conservation of momentum. Coriolis effect is Coriolis effect, and not actual deflection as you turn underneath things.
Yeah, well, I was trying to highlight the way Rumpus was. It's just horrible, man. He doesn't let you speak. He's on something. Definitely when he's doing that, it's crazy. I don't know.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Elisha.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that yesterday when I was muting Rumpus, I was only muting him when someone else was talking. I think on the Discord side, it's unbearable to hear him talk for the people in Discord while you're talking.
Yes, I agree. Definitely, it's on the Discord. It's horrible on Discord, unlike the live stream.
Yeah, when I was on Discord before, I felt the same thing. You couldn't get anything.
Yeah, but you got to
But
remember.
I also understand the dynamic of the show, letting it breathe, because you want to get that back and forth in there too. So I wouldn't dare mute him then, at a chance to miss one of his hiccups. It's just when he's repeating himself 6 times in a row, that's the only time I was muting him.
I get it from the Discord perspective, but the reason, he's decided that he's got a little tactic, which is shut down. He didn't do it yesterday, to his credit. But what he normally does is talk through everything everyone's saying, and then when somebody like yourself sticks him on mute, he just sticks his fingers in his ears. So for that reason, he's overcome people muting him in Discord. Well, more power to him. If he's overcome that, good for him. At a sacrifice, he has to shut down in order to achieve that. Now, I don't want that. Now, people will say, oh, you're giving him a lot of leeway. I didn't think I was giving him any more leeway than anybody else. If anybody thinks differently, I want to hear his arguments. Yeah, I get it. You don't want to hear him saying, well, I just want to hear what he's saying. I just want to hear what he's saying. Well, I can't hear what he's saying. Oh, well, it's breaking up a lot. Yeah, we know what you're doing. You're just making damn sure that whatever it is that you've got to say in the last instance gets repeated so that whatever is trying to be put to him doesn't get put to him. Now, from a Discord perspective, you can't hear a damn thing. I get it.
Hey, Nathan, I got 2 slides for you in Master B. One is the black swan, of course, and the other one is to contrast what the Globers say the horizon does. And then, of course, the black swan will upend it.
Yeah, I've got it up. I've got the picture of the boats getting smaller into the distance first off.
Yeah, as you can see there, observational evidence for a spherical Earth. So this is what they're telling us. You could observe the curve. The sinking appearance of a departing ship relative to the observer's horizon. And then it shows the bottom of the ships disappearing first, and based on the horizon, that is. Then if you look at the black swan, bye-bye to that.
Have you been out yet?
Can you repeat that?
I'll take you.
Can you repeat?
I'll take you.
Obedience. Are you trying to talk to us? I'm very muffled. Pop yourself on mute, please, Obedience.
So that goes to Tim Osmond saying we've never claimed Earth curve to be the horizon.
Obedience, can you hear us?
So much for obedience.
Obedience, you freaking moron. Go on mute.
All right, I've sorted it. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Can't have a horizon beyond the geometric limitations of sphere Earth with a physical geometric sphere edge asserted to block boats and buildings into the distance. Only need one black swan once it's beyond the geometric limitations. Bye-bye, ball. Also, as a quick plug, no matter when you're watching this, check out Quantum Eraser's kind of an anniversary special. I'm not sure if we'll do it on the Ballbusters the day after New Year, but 1st Jan 2020 was the birth, if you will, publicly at least, of the Black Swan argument, the modus tollens argument. If the Earth is a sphere, radius 3959, then every distance to the horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and the Black Swan shows a horizon way in excess of 11 miles, or 10 miles. Therefore, the Earth is not a sphere. Can't have a geometric physical horizon beyond its physical geometric limitations. It's just not possible. So, on Quantum Eraser channel, he went through it yesterday with a whole bunch of guests, me included. It was good fun. But check it out if you've not heard of the Black Swan argument, or you're not familiar with it, or you've heard it several times but aren't really convinced that it's destroyed the globe religion. And feel free to check out that presentation and we go through it. And given that it's been 12 months now, we're pretty concise in describing what's what about it, the rebuttals that are now non-existent. So yeah, very cool. Check it out, Quantum Eraser YouTube channel.
I think the key for people to realize the Jedi mind trick is the Muppet vision. They always show a spherical image, and when they want to show the dip to the horizon or any other teaching lesson for their sphere, it's this ball and then a guy or a boat standing on top. And when you look straight out, that's a plane, and that would be your tangent plane. And they even have that line, but it's sitting right on top of a ball or a circle. And it's this subliminal way of saying you're actually on this ball, and here are all the different horizons that we've labeled them. Well, there's only one horizon, of course, but they've got the true horizon, the visible horizon, the rational horizon. They got all these different horizons to confuse you. But the giveaway, and what I want to bring attention to, is that they always have that tangent plane on top. It's just like this last two pictures. It's not curving away. You need a tangent plane for, again, navigation to get an angle. So they've actually put both parts of it. They put the flat Earth version with the tangent plane, but they're getting you to look at the circle underneath as your reality when it's the other way around.
Yeah, indeed. As I say, plug for Quantum Racer live yesterday. Not for those of you watching this, it's not live yesterday because this is coming out much later than this was actually broadcast live. But nevertheless, the Black Swan was the actual title. QE Live. I suppose that's part of the title, so that's fair enough. But yeah, on the Quantum Racer YouTube channel, so check it out.
Yeah, I caught some of it during the live part, and then last night I listened to the whole show again. It was really good.
Yeah, it was good fun. Thinking of stealing my time slot that I've now reasonably firmly established on the second channel for the Uncut and After show. Like, no, what about if I go 2 hours later? I was like, what, in my time slot?
Yeah. Hey, what do you guys think of me going at 3? Just on out there.
Yeah, just throwing it out there. What if I do it at the show time that you've now established? I'm not that attached to it. I'm like just messing with him, really. You know, if he wants me to change that slot. If he asked me to change the slot of the live show, I'd be like, no, that's been like that forever. You know, and I have messed with the times of the Uncut and After show to a fair extent. So it's not the end of the world. Whereas, you know, I think it's firmly established what time the live show starts now. With the exception of when daylight saving starts and ends.
Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
How's everybody?
Very well, very well. How are you?
Not too bad. Working as usual.
Yeah, we can hear.
Did you buy your Chocolate Horizon yesterday, Chocolate?
You already bought one.
Oh, he already bought one.
Yeah.
What,
I mean,
what did you ask me?
Did you buy a Chocolate Horizon?
No, I'm selling them, man. What you mean? I'm buying them. I'm selling
Oh, right. Chocolate Horizon #1 is for sale. Wow. Lucky person that's going to get that apparent Horizon.
Well, you bought it, waited till the value increases, now you're selling it? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Because now they're selling like hotcakes, you know? Before we weren't really talking about it. We weren't focused on it. It was just, you know, boats, buildings. Now it's Horizons all day, baby.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by Sleeping Warrior, Chocolate Saiyan, Arwin, who doesn't know I've introduced him, Neil, and 10th Man, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I was
Good
pressing
morning
buttons.
from New York.
Good morning from New York. Good morning. Neil's also there, I assume.
Sitting on the Port Authority floor waiting for a 2:30 bus. Yes.
Sounds so exciting.
That sounds
Oh
fun.
no.
Bummer. Right, so let's get straight to it. Let's get straight to it. Any evidence of a physical, geometric sphere at horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Nope, not anymore.
Not for the past year.
But they never claimed it, even though they point at it and say it's there.
Shout out to Unicorn Laser Eyes for the super chat, who says, "Merry Christmas to everyone. Will there be a Boxing Day special?" No. In a nutshell, if there is going to be one, this will probably be it. So yeah, if you might be watching this on Boxing Day, this will probably get released on Boxing Day, the Uncut and After show at least. So no, if there is, this is it. So don't let that excite you too much. Thank you for the super chat, Unicorn Laser Eyes. Really appreciate the support. Any evidence?
Wait,
of
what?
Go on, go.
What is Boxing Day?
Unwrapping presents.
I had the same question in my head. I've heard it before, but I never followed up on what that's supposed to be.
Well, basically,
Well,
after
Nathan ordered some stuff last time and then unwrapped it, right?
That would be called unboxing, not boxing.
not that kind of boxing, right? So after a very heavy meal on Christmas Day, everyone's very irritated, and everyone gets in the ring in the UK and just kicks the crap out of each other. That's just Boxing Day, right?
Yeah.
That works.
What?
I like that.
I like it.
Any
Oh,
evidence
you
of-
mean like post-family stress, like boxing?
Yeah, Boxing Day.
That
God,
brings
look it
a whole
up.
new meaning to who going to bring the punch to the party.
You've got it. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
None whatsoever.
Don't they need reference frames for that?
Sorry, I got to shout.
They don't claim
I thought I'd
axial
segued
rotation.
away
The
from
Earth
this,
is
but
spinning, but the axis is not rotating.
thought I'd managed to segue away, and clearly Arwin has demonstrated that I was successful. But thank you very much, Eagle Plane and Anchor. Merry Christmas. WTF is Boxing Day? Question mark. Thank you very much for the super chat. Day after Christmas is Boxing Day. Let's not concern ourselves too much with its meaning. It's not that important. Got something to do with boxes.
Yeah, but you're gonna have a show on Christmas Day because it's Friday, correct?
On Christmas Day, I'm going to be with my family. You're joking, right?
What are you talking about, Nick?
No.
What do you mean, no. Yes.
Nothing stops Flat Earth debate.
He could do a double show and air it, but he ain't going to be there.
I'm pretty sure that the show with Witsit Gets It and Rumpus and Nathan Thompson will be the show that actually goes out on Christmas Day. And I think this show that has previously been recorded and is unaired as yet will go out for members straight away. Become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and you can see all of these shows in advance and then not concern yourself with your Christmas Day needing to watch these shows. But certainly the uncut from this show will go out on Boxing Day, day after Christmas.
Why do you...
There's still going to be a Flat Earth Early Bird live, though, because I don't have as much of a life.
Oh, don't be like that,
I
Arwin.
will go to
Bloody
Christmas
hell.
dinner with my parents, I hope.
Don't be such a beta. What are you doing? Why are you moaning? Oh, I've got nobody, so I'll be doing a show. Don't be like that. Proud,
Right.
strong.
Well, I'm just really, really hardcore. Nothing can stop me from doing my show. Not the end of the world. Not a holiday.
Exactly.
Nothing can stop me.
Arwen's going to have a show
No.
on Christmas Day because Arwen's
Because
totally
I
badass.
have no life. Just kidding.
Stop saying that. It's because you're totally badass.
He had it going until the end.
Exactly. I unfortunately rumpused him, so it wasn't fully clarified. It won't get through to the subtitles. Anyway, another shout out to Eagle Playing an Anchor, who says, knockout! I think he's talking about his joke that he dropped in about Boxing Day. Thank you very much again for the super chat. Really, really appreciate the Christmas support. So, no actual rotation then. Arwen was halfway through answering this, so I'm going to go straight to Arwen.
Wait, what? What was the question?
Axial rotation.
Exactly.
No, there is no actual rotation. But, yeah, they still think the Earth is spinning, though. It's just we don't notice any of it. So one would have to conclude they believe in space-time so much that they think that effectively the space-time bending, there is a rotation within it, and it causes the universe to spin around the Earth so that the Earth is effectively standing still, even though to the universe the Earth is spinning. Is that an answer?
Well, you know, it makes more sense that way because if space-time is like a quilt that's not actually a quilt, then the ball is rolling down it. You know what I mean?
Right. So it's like space-time rotation. It's almost like the space-time Coriolis effect, like tornadoes or the toilet flushing. Ha!
Secretly, you've got somebody here who wants a job as an astrophysicist, really. That's what you want, isn't it? You want to be the person pointing and naming stuff in the sky, I think, Arwen. You'd love to be a heliocentric rhetoric writer.
Well, maybe.
Well, I think you do a better job of it.
Just that I can. It's really easy to me, and I don't care. So yeah, while all these other people are all desperately trying to stay relevant and interesting, making up all kinds of nonsense, this stuff just comes falling out of my sleeve automatically. So
your sleeve.
So you're making up more nonsense on top of the nonsense they're already made up? That's
well, no,
awesome.
he's just doing a better job than they do.
I'm better at it.
Better,
That's the
exactly.
more part.
Arwen's nonsense. Sorry, Arwen's explanations within the heliocentric model, not Arwen's nonsense. I take that back.
I see what you did there.
Arwen's nonsense is better than their nonsense. Come on.
But yeah, that's a better way to put it. Arwen's heliocentric nonsense is better than their heliocentric nonsense most of the time.
Yes, my Just So stories have a higher structural integrity than theirs.
Is well put. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
That's timely.
Hey, Brian.
How would you do that? What is the sun?
I don't know.
Hey everybody, hey Nathan.
Has someone
Hey, Brian.
waypointed the GPS coordinates to the sun?
You're a bit unclear. Try that once more. Maybe closer or further or something with your mic because we couldn't discern what you said.
Has someone used Waze or some sort of GPS program to
What's
figure out the
GPS?
distance to the sun? Well,
Yeah.
you put it into your rocket and then you climb, baby, climb.
It's the Grabler positioning system.
And then you climb, baby, climb.
Grappler positioning system.
That's where the song takes off, Chocolate.
A grappler's the
Oh
guy
my God.
described by Owen Benjamin as the guy rubbing his hands together in, is it Neverending Story or something like that?
Original Grabler came from the Onion news.
Oh, okay.
It was a joke article, but it's great and it stuck. So
I
yeah,
don't know the
GPS Grabler positioning system.
I never caught the original Owen Benjamin explanation for the Onion bit because I heard him referencing Grabblers loads when I was watching him, but I didn't really know what the reference meant. But there's a lot of things like that with Owen Benjamin, eh?
So, Nathan, to Elijah's point, how are they spinning it that they told us they had the distance to the sun? Wasn't it something to do with Earth and Venus?
Yeah, they assume Venus has the same presupposed radius value, and then they apply Kepler's third law.
Okay, and since the black swan came out and we realized that the radius is not what they say it is, then GPS, rockets, it don't matter. They'll never know what the distance is on this.
But they didn't anyway. I mean, it was based on the assumption of R, but no, now they have no R. They have no assumption to derive their assumed distance to the sun either. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Oh, Nathan, by the way, I just posted the original Onion video about the Grabbler in the chat, if you're interested.
Okay. If you want to check it out, it's in the chat. I see that. Thank you very much for posting that. I will check it out at a later stage, not now, for obvious reasons. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Not at the moment.
Soon, though. Soon.
You never know.
I was
Well,
gonna
they lost their radius, so now it's a presupposed what? It can't be a sphere anymore.
I did do a Christmas special
I was-
once, and it had Paul Voigt on it. So I don't know if Sleeping Warrior's earwigging this or near his desk, but he was actually on that Christmas special, and he asserted that he did have evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core, but he's never actually presented it. So I don't know if that's actually happened in the last, what would it be now, 3 years? Is it 4, dare I say it?
I remember that. He never showed up again, right? He said he was going to come back. He had proof that the molten iron core could sustain its Curie point and all that, and I'll be right back. It's been like 3 years.
Maybe he dropped down the deep borehole and get out again.
I was picturing...
He went to go get cigarettes at the store. He'll be right back.
What is
It's
it?
a-
I was about to say a dead
It's
beat
a long
baller.
journey to the center of the Earth. Now he's planning his
Brian.
return trip.
Yeah, Brian.
He'll be around in 3 years' time.
Just returning videotapes. So yeah, no sign of Paul Voigt with his molten iron core evidence. That's a shame, because there was us all excited for a time. I mean, we've been on tenterhooks since, I think it is 3 years. It might be 4. I don't know. I don't want to get that wrong. It's a long time. Anyway, check out the Christmas special from
Yeah,
then.
I think it was 2017. So
Yeah, we started
Yeah,
pinning
you
stuff
know what
on
the
people
irony
back
is?
in the Isle of Man stuff, wasn't it?
The
I think Paul
irony
Voigt
is-
was the first one that got something pinned on him.
That's correct. I just reiterate that for Sleeping Warrior's benefit. So Sleeping Warrior said, look, when we get to these points, let's start holding individuals to task on it. We've done it to this day, right? You know, recent examples are Thunderfoot or, I was going to say Conspiracy Cats, but that's not particularly recent. Who else is a recent? Simon Dan. There you go. It's the same principle. So this was originally, a lot of things originally come from Sleeping Warrior that are good ideas. So the housekeeping's that also, but I digress. But yeah, basically hold people to task. So when someone like Paul Voigt says, yeah, I've got evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core, it's like, okay, let's have it. We're going to hold you to task on that indefinitely. And, you know, obviously these things fade into obscurity for a time, but then they ultimately resurface. You know, it's not like Paul Voigt hasn't been mentioned when we asked for molten iron core evidence in the past. That's not true either, because we do often mention him. You know, the same applies with Coriolis effect. Simon Dun's not the flavour of the month at the moment, but it'll still come up. Same with Thunderfoot. Or whoever, Conspiracy Cats, gas pressure without a container. You know, without the container there can be no pressure. Well, all of these things aren't going to be forgotten about. They're pretty much integral to the show, thanks to Sleeping Warrior saying, no, we must attribute individuals who have said these things to their claims that aren't sustainable.
Some kind of a list would be nice, wouldn't it? Where we had all the people who made the claims. And just it'd be nice to see the ones that did actually come back and ignore the claims they made and the ones that never came back.
I mean, we can do that. We can do that now just briefly with some of the housekeeping questions already. So in terms of physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve, who can you assign this to in terms of somebody prevalent or even known?
Rumpus and Bobby, all of them, I suppose, for that one.
Well, there's a list, isn't there? It's like planar walk. We wouldn't expect to see geometry or AB science. We don't see the geometric horizon or rumpus. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths, or Mr. Sensible. At best, you've debunked the R value. Well, or at best, you've debunked the radius.
Kosho, the geometric horizon is the horizon you don't expect to see.
There you go. So the list goes on and
Tim
on
Alden.
for the Black Swan. It is number one at the end of the day, so you're going to end up with a lot of quotes. But then you've got axial rotation, Simon Dan. You and your reference frames have been ruined. End quote, Simon Dan. Molten iron core we've just covered with Paul Voigt. Gas pressure without a containers, conspiracy cats. Without the container there can be no pressure. Gravity, again, this has got quite a few people attributed to it. You know, maybe Anthony, you have the pleasure, my friend. Gravity, who have we assigned this to? I don't know, like maybe the Rumpus, like.
We
Yeah,
can, we must consider Newtonian gravity as a force. Doesn't necessarily mean it is one, but we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level.
George Musa.
That's number one.
George Muser.
Or George Musa. Gravity is not a force. But you can think of it as a force.
Didn't Paul Verlinder, the other guy, say it? Shout it from the rooftops, gravity's not a force?
Right. Brian Cox, there isn't really a force of gravity at all. Wow, £200 from Tony Whitcomb. Thank you very much indeed for the enormous super chat. Happy Christmas, Mr. Oakley. I'm going to add and panel. Yesterday's show was worth the money. You were on fire. So Tony was one of the people, although I didn't mention him, that sent me a message via PayPal. In other words, it had cash attached to it. So, you know, there's a lot of love going out there. Was it Tony? Have I said that incorrectly? Maybe it wasn't Tony. Several people did that. So I'll lose track. If it wasn't you, Tony, my bad. But there was lots of people who contacted me through lots of means about yesterday's show. So, obviously...
I think Tony was the guy asking about the member thing at the end. I'm sure it was him.
Definitely available now to all members. So, as I say, it's had a lot of views. If there is an issue, it could be a glitch, but it's definitely available to all member levels. If you remember, even at the Penguin level, the lowest level, you can still watch it.
Yeah, it was available. I'm a member, and it was available straight after the show there, more or less, yesterday.
Yeah, I went out of my way to sit and baby it until it was, as soon as it was like processing SD version, right, I'll publish it immediately then. So it went out pretty quickly afterwards, even though it was a 3.5 hour show. Anyway, should we move on with housekeeping? We're attributing people to gravity. I think we've got loads. There's the most famous people in terms of they're way beyond even the treks that we get here in the trenches. Dare I say it? You know, you've got DeGrasse Tysons and Brian Coxes and Moosers and various other people who are all debunking gravity as a force, because it's not. You know, that's 105 years out of date. Go ahead. Go ahead, whoever that was. Feel free. Redman.
I think it was Elijah.
No, that wasn't me.
Elijah, was it you?
I think
Yeah, I
Elijah
was just
trying
saying
to say
Veritasium, that
maybe?
channel.
I'm not sure.
Gravity is not a force.
Veritasium, yeah, you and Chocolate both got there at the same time. Yeah, indeed. So he is in the trench level, I would say, Veritasium, down here at YouTube land, rather than reaching the masses on the networks. But yeah, definitely, there's loads of them. But let's move on. There's plenty of... I don't know if we can do the same thing with people like Tony Purcell for the next question, but any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? Faulkner, Purcell, got all sorts with these.
Nothing from Dr. Becky, 10th man?
Dr. Becky.
No.
What about Ed Freeze or someone? He's sure he said something. Or Choikey. They probably did. Definitely said yes to that.
What a team.
That's irrelevant.
Right.
Right.
Tony, you there for some other Tony or Tony Purcell quotes? No, we're going to move on because I can't remember any.
Well, I've got a PhD. I'm the more educated one. I know more about this subject than anyone. How can you? And then Spurs takes them down.
I think the Tony PhD is there's a couple of different. There's two types of PhDs. There's PhDs like Tony who don't really have anything to back up what they're saying, who are PhDs in things that aren't real science, and all they do when challenged with any real argument is they'll try and shout you down and get you to respect their authority. Then there's other PhDs who are actually interested in the truth, and actually do use things like the scientific method within their work. People work in biochemistry and things like that. So, I mean, they're not all perfect, but you're less likely to get shouted down by one of those. If you tell one of them, look, gravity is not even a force in the mainstream narrative, they'll probably even know that already, But someone like Tony Purcell, he won't even know that. He'll still be asserting it's a force,
Yeah, they got to toe the line, astrophysicists and cosmologists.
Well, for something that changed 105 years ago, and the masses of the world's population still thinking gravity is a force, they didn't do a good PR job.
No, and why would they? I mean, if you're changing a fundamental part of a rhetoric that people think is their actual world rather than just a model-based description in mathematics and abstractions, which is then to be reified by the people, you don't tell them of the changes, you just let them take a very long time to take effect, to the point where people still don't know that your gravity as a force has been superseded 105 years ago by Einstein. And they don't know that because it hasn't been overtly taught to them, and they're quick to point out, or Rumpus and others are quick to point out, that it's still taught in schools. Again, Sleeping Warrior, if he was here, would be telling us all about it right now. Just so that in-joke makes sense, Sleeping Warrior is actually here. There he is. It's just not really here. He's here in spirit only. I know we've covered this with conspiracy cats already, but any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
That's impossible, and we've asked them to demonstrate it because their version is that you have our gases that we breathe right next to 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum of space without any kind of barrier, and they haven't been able to do it.
Can't have gas pressure without a container.
Well, after the stratus, what's known as the stratus pause, which is the line between the stratosphere, the kind of dividing line between that and what they call the mesosphere, there is nothing after that other than NASA sounding rockets. That's all they have after that. So that means these rockets are going into space, a violation of entropy. So there is absolutely nothing of any kind of a measurement that like with using a barometer or a thermometer or anything like that, or any sensors. There's nothing after the top of the stratosphere, which is about 50 kilometers up, 31 miles or something. So there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing after that of anything solid. There's no evidence of anything after that, unless you want to believe NASA and whoever else.
Well, you've already covered that. So they're claiming to be taking images and measurements from a violation of natural law, entropy. So no, you don't trust NASA. They're lying through their back teeth. They're violating natural law with the location they're claiming they're in when they're on their high wires.
Well,
exactly, and that's the same place
thank
these rockets are.
Thank goodness, according to Rumpus, the second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth.
The Earth is a sphere in his model. It's not that it doesn't apply, it's just it's not necessary. You don't need natural law in models. They're just models. They don't represent reality. They use them as their description to be reified as their reality, but we don't stand on a sphere, and you can't have gas pressure without a container. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we're breathing would fill that space. And what do you know? They call it space! How ironic.
Yeah, it only applies to the model accompanying his geometric horizon. That only exists in the math.
Exactly.
It's funny because they don't see how these things connect. How can you tell us in one instance, oh, the geometric horizon only exists in the math, and then try to tell us that we could have second law of thermodynamics violations all day? How does that work?
Well, what they meant to say was the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the globe Earth model. That's what he
Precisely,
actually
Arwin. Exactly. That's what he means when he says Earth, because Earth to him is the model.
That's why he said yesterday the independent variable is a number.
Science is about measuring numbers.
You can experience all of these wonderful quotes before Christmas Day. It will be released after Christmas Day, but if you become a Nathan
what's
Oakley
the length
1980
of
channel,
3?
are you ruining my plug? God damn you, Owen! Become a
Sorry.
Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member if you want to experience all of these wonderful quotes on Flat Earth Debate 1315, I believe it is. I said it was 14 in the pre-show to Neil. We're on 16 now, aren't we? I lose track because there were several days that my computer was in repair. But there we go.
Yeah,
Anywho.
1315. That was yesterday.
Yeah, 1315. So become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member if you'd like to watch those right now. They will be released eventually to the general public, or to the rest of YouTube, I should say. Righty-ho. Last but by no means least, any evidence of Earth radius, the R value.
Only in the maths.
That's correct.
Does it exist though in the math? I think there's no evidence in the math. It's just assumed.
Yeah, that's what we're saying, though.
I don't even think there's evidence in the math. It's just assumed.
Yeah, there's
Wait,
evidence
so-
of it being in the maths and being assumed in the maths. But that's still there in the maths being assumed in the maths.
Wait, so if I go to the beach and I see a boat disappearing bottom up, is it disappearing over the maps?
No, it's disappearing into the distance, but we don't have a physical geometric sphere edge horizon. That was debunked by the Black Swan.
You mean I can't find the maps out there? That
No.
sucks.
Yeah, we don't live on a model. The map is not the terrain.
Well, that's
I
a
can-
shame.
It is a shame if you're a funder who believes you're living on a model called the heliocentric model. That concludes the housekeeping. The Earth is obviously and observably flat.
Yeah, if they got the radius, if we only debunk the radius, then I just wonder, okay, so how does the stars rotating around us then fit the slightly altered radius exactly? But I don't think they're even going to address that.
I mean,
Right.
back in the day when it came out, their rebuttal was the end of their argument. It led to the Arwinian paradox. You can't move the horizon with refraction based on R, because you need to be able to measure R, and you measure R with the horizon, which is moving with refraction, so non-physical, not capable of being a tangent point, can't derive R from it, so you can't move it with 7/6R terrestrial refraction. Paradox.
Well, Arwen used an interesting word. He says, well, if they're going to alter the radius, well, it is my experience since the Black Swan, they can't alter it. It either is or it's not a globe.
Yeah, but when I say alter, I mean basically figure out that they were originally wrong about the original assessment of the radius, so they have to then figure out what it is, right? That's how they work. That's how they always work. And they change
but then-
something. It's like, oh, we turned out to be wrong all this time. How could this have slipped us by? Let's alter it right now and get it right this time, right? That's how they
Right,
work.
but you tied it to how the luminaries would move over the new altered radius, didn't you?
Well, if you can figure out a radius value from a bunch of circumferences, then you have a circumference.
Who is it that said that? I can't remember who that was.
Panda.
Gem Panda. Oh dear.
Look, we got so many of these crazy baller sayings. We could literally make a Christmas bulb for every single saying and then hang a giant Christmas tree full of it by now. All the sayings.
Yeah, there's some that I've forgotten. I have so many in my head.
It's like, on the first day of Christmas, the fundy said to me, there is no geometry.
Nice.
I like it. What about the
On the
second
second
day?
day of Christmas, the Fundy gave to me 2 horizons.
One black swan.
Now you got to keep it going.
You could just go on with horizons.
Damn, why didn't I-
Just keep naming horizons,
I think
adding them
of
on.
writing-
That's a good idea for a song.
One visible,
should've
one
did that
apparent,
for Christmas.
one rational.
It's been done a couple of times before, though. The first one I remember was from that. What is it again? The hillbilly guy.
Blue ball. Blue balls.
And an asshole named Rumpus.
It was a flat earther guy. It's some time
Two
ago.
Patricia Steers. All I remember about that guy was he did, the more into the song he got, the more angry he got when he started saying Patricia Steer. It was so funny. I don't remember who that was, actually.
I can't remember who it was, but I do remember it. That made it to the Christmas special, right? We played that at the end of the Christmas special about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Just flat earth hillbilly or something.
Nah, I can't remember who it was.
Was it 3 Nathan Oakley's, 2 Patricia Steer. Oh, I can't even remember what order they were now, but it was very good.
Well, they got the sensible horizon, the geoidal horizon, the visible horizon, the celestial horizon, the geometrical horizon, the rational horizon. I'm sure there's some more.
Event horizon.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Feel free.
I sent Neil a message on Discord. It may help him out.
Is this about his car?
Yes.
I knew it. This is a live show about flat Earth. God damn you. You got a message, Neil?
Well, when Neil doesn't pick up his phone, they know where to find him.
What, on flat Earth
That's
debate?
awesome, though, right? He's put his griefs out into the ether, and he's got a response.
The ether.
He might have some help right now. That's pretty awesome.
Ether, you say?
Yes.
Just to let you know, Nathan, if we get somebody joining the Google Hangouts, it's somebody I've sent a link to that he thinks that Ball Earth has been proven many times over. And I said, oh, really? I said, well, here's a list. Bring your best evidence to any of the points listed above. There's the link to join. We'll see you in half an hour. And I've been poking and trying to get him to join. Obviously, he's not going to join. But he's been telling everybody that we live on a ball, and it's been proven many times over. I said, okay, we'll come into here and let's see your best bet. And no signs of him yet, but just in case he does join, don't be panicking.
Okay. What was the list? Did you just send him housekeeping?
Yeah. All the housekeeping points.
Right, and that's what it takes, fundies. You need to come up with some answers. They're all based on your fundamentalist religious assertion that the Earth is a sphere flying through a sky vacuum and spinning as it does so.
Any chance he's gonna get past number 1?
No. I did promise him that we'd be nice to him.
You don't... Yeah, don't be making those sorts of promises here. Speak for yourself.
Sorry, was that a question to me?
I was saying, you told him we'd be nice. You should have said, I'll be nice.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
He was going to... Well, I was going to hold his hand and make sure that he didn't bite his head off. His name's Michael, but I don't think he'll join. So if you're out there, oh, hang on. Michael Parsons, his name is.
Well, hopefully we'll get the pleasure of Michael Parsons. In the meantime, Christmas carols it is. It's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas. Come on, everyone. No? Shout out to Shout out to Al Junkie. Earth radius is superseded by open brackets A.R. Wigan paradox. I don't really know what that is. Arwinian. Oh, my bad. Arwinian paradox. Right on. Thank you for the super chat, Al Junkie.
Wasn't that a song called The 12 Shills of Christmas?
Something like that. I was one of the shills, of course. I woke up
Yeah,
this
you
morning,
made the
checked my messages, and was essentially being called a shill by Pete Shea in the comments. It's so polarized, that comment. Sorry, go on.
I got two images of Master B. I'm going to bring this back to the radius. So besides Eratosthenes with the shadow from the sun in the well, they've attributed the Earth radius within real close numbers to him by these individuals in the two images. I can't pronounce that first one, Aryabhata, Indian mathematician. Then, of course, Al-Biruni, and then this fellow named Robert Helmert. So there's no going back from them reifying the sphere with a radius of 3959 or a close proximity to that. So the Black Swan just destroyed their model. So that proves it was always a model that they reified into reality, because they've got numerous people say this is the physical measurement of what we live on, except it doesn't bear out with the Black Swan.
Right on. We no longer have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon. And we only have one horizon. Their horizon is geometric. That's until the Black Swan came. Now, we do not see the geometric horizon. Well, then Globe Earth is dead. Because you need to. It's supposed to block things into the distance. You're supposed to be able to calculate it with feet and inches. It's supposed to be very accurate. But yet we do not see the geometric horizon that blocks boats and buildings and is claimed to be Earth curve. Yeah, that got named back in 2020 as well. That was back in January. The Jedi Horizon Handwave. In other words, declaring the relinquishment of their assertion that the horizon is physical and blocking stuff by telling us that it isn't. Like, these aren't the droids you're looking for. This isn't the horizon you're looking for. What, the one in your maths that you said was Earth curve? It's not that. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Isn't it quite politically interesting that the guests yesterday are basically not ballers, they're on our side, but yet they joined and they got treated the same, almost, that the ballers get treated? I mean, I know that they were a bit more politely spoken to most of the time, but the point is that they weren't really treated that much different to people that are zealots on the Ball Earth side. So when those criticise Nathan for having an echo chamber or whatever, go and look at that show and see how echoey it really is, because it's really not.
Did I see something that Danny Faulkner was listening to the show and he said this is better entertainment than the W?
No, it was a soccer account.
Oh, the soccer account, okay.
The real Danny Faulkner can't come in here, can he? He made a book refuting the claims of the flat Earth, where he had a whole chapter dedicated to gravity, but didn't mention Einstein once. So I just find that interesting that he professes to be a self-proclaimed authority on the topic, yet didn't mention the leading science.
I wonder why.
Didn't he give it a cursory mention? Unlike many pages later.
Only in the context of special relativity.
Right. I was going to say, not in the context of the discussion, but later on he gave a cursory mention, maybe 2 sentences.
Well,
He'll always
go on. The reason you're bringing that up, Anthony, is because if he did, what would it do to his argument?
Gone. It concedes that it's not force, Einsteinian gravity, right? Bending of conceptual mediums.
Well, he would have to say that it's an effect and not a force, the one that he's talking about, correct?
Yeah. He's flip-flopping between 105-year out-of-date gravity and not even mentioning in context the current rhetoric. Go on, Sleeping Warrior.
Pardon?
No.
To be honest, notice when John came in yesterday, first thing he jumped on with regards to the gravity conversation was, let's have a definition. I did say that right at the start before we got going, and we didn't define it.
Yeah, that did come through. Fair point. Going on from what you said, you were giving me props for giving Whitsitt and Nathan Thompson the same hard time. Nathan Thompson's one of my Patreons. Well, it doesn't matter who you are or what you believe in or what side you're on. I don't care. You know, if you make a claim and you're just assuming your outcome, then that's going to get pointed out. You know, if you make a claim and that claim involves an assumption at the start of your explanation that everything you're going to be describing is going down, then that ignores the fact that that isn't the case. And that's where the argument ends. Yeah. Well, I don't care where the argument comes from. It would be biased if I was to not attack somebody who doesn't have any provable, demonstrable evidence, scientific or otherwise, for their claim, when their claim starts with an assumption that everything goes down, because it doesn't. Well, I don't care. It doesn't matter who you are. I'm sorry, Witsit. I take no pleasure in it, I assure you, Witsit. I also didn't appreciate being called dishonest. But there we go. That's just how things happen in the heated moment. Maybe I'll get over it. No, I don't want to rip Witsit or Nathan Thompson apart. Far from it. I actually like both of them. You know, they are actually people I would go out for a drink with. As in, I like them. But does that mean that they're not going to have the same exact treatment when they talk crap? Well, sorry. If you thought that was the case, it's not.
Had you noticed that, like, Nathan Thompson's channel's been taken down again, and his Facebook group too, yesterday night?
Son of a... I'm
like
sorry,
right
Nathan.
after he posted that video about the debate. It's all gone. So I didn't know if you were aware of that.
It's not necessarily correlated. So you're saying it's after that. Yeah, well, in time that might be the case, but it's often not the case that that's the reasoning behind the channel being taken down.
No, I don't think so either. But it's still like, whoa. He's yeah. That Facebook group was pretty big. 100,000 followers.
You did say the Facebook group's gone too. Yes, enormous. I wonder why the group's gone.
You might have rage quit. I don't think Facebook do that very easily, did they? I thought they were quite liberal.
No. Yes, there's lots of flat earth groups, but are they very liberal? No, they're very strict.
All right, I don't know.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I've not streamed on Facebook or anything of that nature, because when I looked into it, it did seem like there would be like, I just have to learn twice as many rules. I mean, that's, to be fair, you'd think that's obvious. Well, yeah, but I don't want to get into learning all of Facebook's rules, so I stay out of trouble and keep my nose clean. I do want to keep my nose clean. Now, that's very different to Nathan Thompson, who does know full well he's on a fine line a lot of the time. So I'm sure it's not a massive surprise to him, but it's still heartbreaking. Nobody wants that to happen to them. So I'm very sorry for Nathan Thompson. If you're listening, Nathan, I'm really sorry that's happened to you, my friend. That's absolutely awful.
Agreed.
If I could dig a little bit into the reasoning for universal down being necessary. So who would argue for universal down, and what does it give them if it is what they say?
Well, ballers argue for it, as do some flat earthers. They need, in the trench level, to assert it incorrectly as holding gas pressure here without a container, even though that's not what gravity does. But it's a useful convolution to at least have the argument incorrectly from the globe side. For a flat earther, I really don't understand the motivation. I tried to get that out of Nathan Thompson. It's like, you understand this argument, therefore, why do you want to see the argument take place? And it seems that I got the answer yesterday, cognitive dissonance. But I can't see any other reason other than holding two positions simultaneously. There is, maybe I'm divining people's thoughts here. Maybe someone can tell me what benefit it serves to the flat earth side, because I can't discern one. Can anybody else tell me?
Maybe.
Well, I can. Oh. You want to go?
Maybe it's like they just want to prove why some things go down, and why things are oriented the way they are, because it was created, and this place is a great mechanical works, and there has something to do with electromagnetism. And that'd be a happy day if we could prove that. But I mean,
we already have those answers, Elijah. It's called relative density.
Yeah, but the issue is not relative density. The issue is they want more. They want to know why the relative density. So they're not just settling for the scientific facts. They want to know why is it like that.
Hold on, careful. That would careful, Alan.
Yeah.
Careful. That would be the scientific facts. So describing something, a la and law of nature, would first involve it being applicable always. So when you say some things go down, that was the argument we had with Witsit, right? So it's not universally true then. It's not law of nature. There isn't a universal down. There's no bias. Gas violates that. Sorry,
Yeah,
my point.
if you want to know...
Sorry, Brian. I just remembered why I actually stopped Darwin. It's because he said the why of it would be the cause of it. That's what you find out through science. And equally, while we don't know why entropy always increases in nature, then we could put it through the scientific method and establish it, presuppose or assume the cause, vary it to see if it causes it. If you can figure out what causes hot to always go to cold, that would be to say you validated the cause of that thing that always happens in nature. But in this instance, down isn't always in nature. Sometimes down, you don't need to explain sometimes down because it's not sometimes down. What, you just ignore the things that aren't within line of your presupposition of down? It's like, no, that'll get you pummeled. Here it will, anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, the answer... Sorry, do you mind if I... Do you want to go... If there's something urgent...
Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
Well,
I cut you off.
think I could set you up better because I want you to answer it, actually, Brian. So are they saying it, Brian, because of the need to have electrostatic and incoherent and dielectric and all that?
No, they're mixing up something. We do have a whole world full of electricity and magnetism, and a lot of things are affected by this. But the reason for the matter vector directionality has nothing to do with them. It's purely about innate matter. If you look at how hydrogen and helium are described, hydrogen is described as one proton and one electron, I think it is. And helium is described as 2 protons, 2 electrons, and 2 neutrons. Right? Now, this is just descriptive, okay? So I can't show you this. But this is how it's described. So neutrons are innate matter. They don't have any charge, they're neutral. And the more neutrons that something is described as having, the higher its molecular weight, the higher its density. So, and it goes right to gold. Gold when it's described in a chemical way or whatever, it's described with a huge amount of neutrons. And gold is a very heavy substance. It's purely down to innate matter. The more innate matter something has, the more the amount of innate matter. I say it a lot better. The amount of innate matter something has decides whether it's going to go up or down within any particular medium. That's all it is. They're trying to add something in that's not necessary, that's not there.
Well, I wish Witsit was here to carry on something he would say much better than me, because I don't know jack squat nothing about this. But one thing that he said was interesting is that when you look at not maps, but there's a way that the land is set up in which it appears to be a tripole, which doesn't actually, because we have two poles, so like a dipole, but we have what appears to be 3 based on our data. And so he said that it's possible that they're just lying to us about land that we don't know is out there, because why would there be what appears to be a tripole when that doesn't exist in nature? But again, I'm just talking about something that I don't know what I'm talking about. And I wish he was here to actually talk about that, because that's interesting to me.
Yeah, but the problem is he's completely contradicting himself, because he states Coulomb's law, and the basics of Coulomb's law is that like repels and opposite attract. But that's like will be 2 positives or 2 negatives, and opposite will be a positive and a negative. There is no such thing as 3 poles. You have 2 poles. To anything electric or magnetic, there's only 2. There is only 2. I'm not putting it onto you. You're stating what.
No.
Can I just add something? Sorry, guys. Hello. Just want to add something. So it's actually on screen by pure coincidence. The map on screen now is what I use for the backdrop to Flat Earth Debate's thumbnail. And as you can see it without the words Flat Earth Debate over it, this is an azimuthal equidistant projection from the North Pole, and with magnetic fields plotted on top. It's actually plotted as a quadrupole system. Not 3, but 4. You can probably see it. I'll trace it out just so you can see what I'm talking about. 1, 2, 3, 4. Although it's difficult with this stupid thing coming on the top of it. Nevertheless, you can probably see just by glancing at it. It's also on my thumbnail. But this is a non sequitur in terms of when you assert, when describing how we have an attributable force, electromagnetic or otherwise, or whatever you want to call it, to why things go down. Yeah? But things don't all go down. So making the assertion that you need to figure out with dielectric incoherent magnetism how that's making things go down, then it's got to be making things go down. Well, what about a balloon or helium or gas? Well, they don't go down. And they don't have a bias. So it's nonsense. Because it's not true universally to anything.
No,
I think I've worked
agree.
out.
I agree.
I think I've worked out why Bob thinks that there's a bias. If you look at what the lightest solid is, the lightest meaning the least dense, the less dense solid out there, it's that aerogel, that blue stuff that looks a bit like a cloud. Have you seen it?
Man-made. Go ahead.
Yeah, man-made, but it's the lightest dense. It's the least dense solid that they can make, I believe. Might be wrong. Don't quote me on it, but I believe that's the least dense solid, and it's still 6 times more dense than air. So, because it's more dense than air, we know that it's going to displace the air, right? We lift it into the air, we let go of it, it goes back to where it came from. So, because it's 6 times more dense, if you were to get gases that were 6 times more dense than air, you could probably get that aerogel to levitate itself off the floor just by virtue of making the density of the medium around it more dense than it. And then Bob wouldn't be able to argue that there's a bias. But there seems to be a bias because air is so light in terms of density compared to all the solids that we have that he can perceive that bias, but he doesn't realize that it's not caused by electromagnetic or what does he call it? Incoherent dielectric acceleration. That's just a word that's just a word that's being used to sound intelligent, but it doesn't have any real world application. We don't see it. But that claim's being made, and that's the reason why you won't have the conversation, because when you get down to it, there is no real world observation that matches this explanation or this claim. And if there was, you can't demonstrate that it's true. So what do we do with the claim? Well, we put it in the bin with all the other claims that are made about the shape of the Earth that we're on, because it doesn't do what they say it does.
I'm just stuck on the coherent part of the statement. Like, incoherent, really?
Non sequitur.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. It's like incoherent dielectric.
But who cares about that particular subject, right or wrong in terms of their descriptions? In fact, Zachary Zabala has done some really epic work on this. It's just not relevant to why everything goes down. Everything doesn't go down.
When I hear the term incoherent dielectric acceleration, to me, that's something that would be very sciencey, and it's like saying quantum gravity to someone. It sounds like, wow, what an important, fantastical, complicated matter that I could never understand. You know, it's one of these things when the truth is so much more simpler, and that what they're saying has absolutely no relevance on it. And it's just a case of them not being willing to accept it.
So do you think that Anthony's point, if I could state it the way I think I heard it, is that they have a downward bias because in the reality we live in, most things are heavier, denser than the air. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory.
He's misidentifying the downward bias. He's misidentifying the downwards bias to be the medium of air that we live in. Most objects are more dense than the medium of air, so you would perceive that most objects fall to the ground because that's where everything's looking for its equilibrium. And you see that with balloons, you see it with smoke. They're rising to find their equilibrium. If there was no need for any equilibrium, there would be just a permanently it would be a homogeneous, non-isotropic medium. But we have a non-homogeneous isotropic medium that tells you that there is something causing it. And what happens when you manipulate the density of the medium? You cause an acceleration or a perceived acceleration. So therefore, that's telling you that the thing that's making everything find that position is mass relative to other mass. That is the cause. They just don't like it.
So So you're
Well,
saying
other than
this
maths,
is something.
I have an issue with that, but
Yes.
Yeah, I
So
use it
you're
with
saying-
Just one sec. Can you back off your mic a little bit, Sleepy Mario? You're just much louder than everyone else. Sorry, carry on, Brian.
I might have my joke with Anthony about the mass thing, but still, it is mass. Mass is something I never use. I never use the word unless it's within something to do with the Bowen model, and they use it for that. But what I would
The
say
problem
about
is, I can't really use any other word, because if you use the word weight, you're inferring
matter,
gravity
just use
by
the word matter.
matter. Yeah, matter's a fine word, because that's not been raped by physics, has it?
No,
Well, the concentration of matter
Okay.
in a given volume, you just didn't have the in a given volume. You know, and they use that to describe the density of things. And what we're talking about here, well, we're talking about relative density. So you said, not incoherent, what was the word you said? What type of matter? Innate matter. Well, the amount of it in a given volume would be its density. We're talking about that relative to the medium. And the incorrect assertion that, based on our observations in the medium we exist in, that would be air, that we have a bias downwards, because it seems that all solid things, that would be to exclude with by caveat or begging the question fallacy, the things that don't do that in this medium, simultaneously ignoring that the same exact things could do something completely opposite in a different medium like water. So it's medium specific, that would be the density of the medium, relative density. That's what we're describing. It's relative. There is no downward bias, only a perception of one based on the medium we're in and a ignorance of the things that aren't doing that.
It's funny because if you listen to Ken Wheeler describing weight, he always says that weight is relative because it is medium specific. Now, for some reason, Bob hasn't picked up on that. But if Bob was to pick up on that, even coming from Ken Wheeler himself, Bob would have to acknowledge that the medium is causing something. But he ignores that bit for some reason. I can only assume he's never heard him say it. But if now Bob is listening, he should be aware that Ken Wheeler tells you that weight is medium specific. It depends on the medium that you're in.
Since when is he bringing that up? Because I've been saying it for months.
Well, going on his comments that were the chocolate soul that chocolate posted yesterday. Them comments tell you directly that he actually doesn't understand relative density, because he's saying if I go up 100 foot in the air on a ladder and I step off the ladder, why don't I go up because that's less dense than down? He doesn't understand the relationship. It seems. That's the best bone I could throw him, is that he just doesn't understand. Either that, yeah, I'm just throwing him the only bone I can.
And with that, I'll say, first and foremost, a massive thank you to Retro Bill, who says, greatly appreciate the direction of the show lately. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Retro Bill, and everyone else who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. If you are watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
If you have fat man and little and skinny man, we've all got a fat friend and we've all got a skinny friend. The fat friend has got a lot of inertia. It takes a lot to get him to move, whereas the skinny guy doesn't have a lot of inertia because it's very easy to get him to move. And obviously, relative to each other, skinny guy isn't going to be able to make fat guy move, because skinny guy needs to put a lot of energy in to get fat guy to move, whereas just by virtue of his own mass, the fat guy doesn't need to do anything to repel the attack because he can just, by virtue of his own weight or his own thing, matter, he can just repel that very easily. That's the same thing that's going on with regards to the layers of density all like merging around each other. And the reason why they're all moving is because they can't occupy the same space. So they're having to give way. They're being forced out the way because there's a fat man at the bottom, there's a skinny man at the top. Relative to each other, we call them up and down. But in real world, it's just more dense over less dense. That is the sorting order. That's why it happens that way. And we know that because we can manipulate the density of the medium and cause an acceleration. That is the cause.
All right, I had to mute you 10th.
Yeah, you can create convection in your kitchen just by heating the air. When you're cooking, you're creating convection. If you leave cold air come in and you're cooking, you're actually creating convection in your kitchen, where hot air is being displaced by cold air, just because of density.
I said that's why they have weight classes in wrestling.
Indeed.
One more person tells you to put my mask on, I'm going to rip the head off.
I mean, these are all...
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, nice to hear you, Nathan.
Mr. Palmer, very nice to hear you too.
Wow, I made it to the air.
Indeed, you did.
This is fascinating.
You will make it to air in future. Pre-recorded.
That's right.
For Boxing Day.
Thank you. I'll go back on mute for now, but I have a really fascinating observation I'd like to share with you guys. So just let me know when's a good time to hop back in.
Now's a good time.
Now's a good time?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So I've been fairly interested in daytime moons.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure everyone's observed a daytime moon, but what I found fascinating over my observations over the last, I'd say, month, is that in the Globe narrative, you have the moon appearing and disappearing over the horizon. But if you notice, a daytime moon seemingly almost vanishes mid-sky. Like, it doesn't need to go anywhere near a horizon to disappear from sight, right in the middle of the sky.
Does that at night too.
That's actually funny. We were
horizon.
talking about that yesterday. That I've never
Right?
seen.
I've never heard these globies ever mention a daytime moon and how it seemingly disappears mid-sky, nowhere near a horizon.
Interesting point. Thank you very much. Good point.
Thank you for letting me share that. I just don't know what to make of it, and I was hoping. I know Arwin makes very good points about apparent and angular size of suns, so I'm wondering how it relates to the moon and how it just seemingly disappears mid-sky. It kind of just almost vanishes.
Well, what's the cause of it? We
Exactly.
don't know.
How would we ever find out?
Yeah. Because I was mentioning that yesterday. Like, every time I've seen the moon at the horizon, it's always huge, it's always orange, but I never actually see it getting cut by the horizon. You know what I mean? Like, as if it's setting. I've never seen that. It just disappears.
Yeah.
Amazing,
Exactly.
these lights in the sky.
Yes, they are. Yeah, the moon, whatever that thing is, man, it's crazy. And it just disappears. I know what you mean, man. Me and Eli were talking about this yesterday. Sometimes you'll see it, it'll be in one spot, and then it almost like it teleports to another spot. Like,
What do
it
you mean?
moves.
What do you mean? Whatever that thing is, NASA said it's a planet, and they landed on it. Come on,
It's a planet.
it's
It's a ball of
freaking
cheese.
golf. What are you talking about?
Yeah. All that.
Wasn't it cheese at one point?
Say again, brother.
I said, wasn't the moon cheese at one point?
That's more believable than a rock covered with dust and flying around in a vacuum. So
Come on, Chocolate. You heard them when they came back. How excited they were.
when they came back,
Maybe it could be a giant cheese if
Well,
the
after-
holes were all filled with helium. It's
Well,
just
after, sorry. I was saying after quarantine, they were so excited about, accomplishing the greatest thing ever accomplished.
Yeah, so excited that Neil Armstrong became a recluse and went into hiding, pretty much. Yeah.
My son
It's only
says,
cheese. Go on, Neil.
no, you go with your pun.
Okay. I said it's only cheese is when they want a good talking point.
Oh my God.
No, my son says the reason why they were so, like, they were sedated was because they were in quarantine for a while, and that's why their personalities weren't so, they weren't so excited. I would have been running through the rooms. I just landed on the moon.
How come he
Right.
talked about it in
Can
the same state years later?
Can I give my 2 cents regarding the moon statement? Because I think I know why the moon doesn't set on the horizon like the sun does.
Is
I
it a
think
super chat
it's
2 cents or just 2
Sure.
cents?
10th man, the pun man. What I was gonna say is, I think it's due to the light of the moon not being as bright and powerful as the sun. So when the moon is getting further away, there's more atmos plane between us and the moon. So it sort of disappears before it hits the horizon because it's not as bright as the sun.
I don't like atmos plane. That doesn't sound right.
Well, it's better than atmosphere. So,
How about just air?
I don't know why you,
If you want, I could attempt a framework for the explanation as to why, including with the sun. So what if it's actually normal for luminaries of all kinds, when they meet the horizon, that they simply disappear? They don't get cut off. It's just the sun. The only thing that we've seen happening concerning that is the sun. Well, maybe it is because it's just the light is shining so bright that it just seems like it's going under, when the actual point is not really going under like that.
Well,
It's
yeah.
different.
Because there's footage you could see of the sun setting where it looks like it gets cut off, and then you zoom in, or you could see the guy taking the film, zooming in, and then when he zooms in, the sun is above the horizon again.
Wow.
It's just perspective.
Okay,
you never
sorry,
seen
just
that? I got
sorry
one
to
of those.
interrupt.
Yeah,
Sorry to
you
interrupt.
that.
I'm just gonna for the audience. Just hold on, Brian. Hello, can you hear me? Just 1 second. For the audience's benefit, right? I did a quick Google search on it and went to just get the name of the site correct. Loadedlandscapes.com, and the article specifically is tips for taking the best moonrise photo. And all I did was take what was on their website page as moonrise photos or examples of what you're trying to achieve. So I'm just going to show the audience 3 examples. I've stuck these in Master B if you want to check them for yourself, so I'm showing them. That was one. That was the closest one I found to actually being what I would consider a moonrise, so the panoramic one, or approximately 16:9 aspect ratio one, second one. But it's got the moon cut off not even by the hill in the foreground, which is a bit bizarre, but that was the closest they had to what you'd consider to be your archetypical moonrise, or like a sunrise but with a moon. It cut off at the bottom at the horizon, but in this case it's not being cut off by anything other than clouds as far as I could see. And then this one, which is just the moon already well above the, again, you've got a massive amount of mountains behind it, so you'd think they could at least catch it coming above them, right? They're right up in the air. But alas, no, none of them seem to be that way. There was one other that didn't crop, which was it near to trees. But you're like, surely there's a whole bunch of them. Prior to snipping these out, I did search a load of other images, obviously. And for the majority of them, they were actually, oh, that looks like it would be perfect. And then you look at it and it's doctored. It's fake. So I found one that was like on the horizon like the sun. But then you look at the line of light that's coming down the water for that particular image, and it's like 1/10 of the size of the moon itself. So you're like, okay, so that's obviously fake too. So there's a whole bunch of fake ones if you do moonrise search by image, and yeah, you'll quickly find that there's not a great deal of them. And then when people are giving you tips on how to get the best moonrise shot, this is the example they're giving you. So there you go. That's my take on it.
I have seen some video of the full moon in moonrise, taken from a high-rise building kind of stuff in a city. But I don't know. I mean, when I say coming from the horizon might have been blocked by some of the city as well, you know, kind of way. But
Just looking now, I'm doing a video search now, so if I've gone silent and you're wondering why, that's why.
well, the real problem is that the moon seems to completely disappear before the new moon turns up. That's the real problem.
That's my point. That's the point I would like to emphasize it, because where I am is I'm in Toronto, Canada, so it's Eastern time where I am. So at 1 o'clock, for example, like even a few days ago, at 1 p.m. I have the sun and the moon above my head, almost looking like miles apart. But by 3 p.m., the moon has become almost transparent, invisible. It's just fading. It's literally fading above my head.
Yeah, I got that when you said it. It's specifically
God made two great lights.
Sorry, it's specifically how the daylight moon sets or goes away, or however you want to term it.
Correct.
Yeah, I got that.
Correct. It seemingly
that?
just vanishes.
Can you videotape that one day?
That's what I was going to ask you. So that's 10th Man who just spoke, correct?
Correct.
Yes, I know that you have the P900 and you have the tripod already. I was looking into getting a tripod and setting up my own P900 to do a time lapse, but I'm at work. So the thing is, I don't know where to position it to catch the moon at the time I need it to. If you have that leisure or the time, I would be very interested to see a time lapse video of the moon just literally fading before our eyes, mid sky.
I love how you assume 10th Man's like a man of leisure. He's a really, really busy guy.
No, that's why I asked if he had some time.
What time of the month is that usually happening? I'll see if I could.
I think you mean time of the.
Finding it fairly. Sorry.
I think you mean time of the moon. Oh, you're ruining my joke. Time of the moonth, right?
No. I didn't even try the pun there, but Nathan punned for me. Thank you, Nathan.
Well, in Latin, moon is month.
He waters eagles.
Yeah, correct. Hold on. Whoever said moon is month, that's correct.
You didn't know that?
Oh, God.
That was me, Mr. Palmer.
Yeah, exactly. You're correct. So you should have 13, right? Should have 13.
Sorry about that. In my language, Luna is literally month, which is moon. So what moon is it? Is pretty much what we're asking.
Yeah, but we've only got 12 in calendars.
Right. No, I just mean when you say what month is it in our language, you're literally asking what moon is it.
Yeah,
like the word month.
I'm completely agreeing with you. What I'm saying is, that's those cycles have been hijacked. Yes. They've been altered. They've been skewed into what we have now as the Gregorian calendar. Well, that's not in any way tied to. It's not even loosely tied to the motions of the moon. But that is even where the word is derived from. What month? Well, what month? That's what it is. You're right.
Yep.
Well, you'd have to differentiate between a lunar calendar and a solar calendar, which the Gregorian is solar.
Indeed.
A real month is 28 days. There should be 13 months.
Yeah, exactly, and the full moon is on the same day each month.
Yep. It's a perfect cycle to keep track of where you are, but we've been divorced from it for some reason. I don't know the reasoning behind it. Control, probably, like everything else.
Like you said, we've been divorced from it. It seems like everything natural and like everything we observe, they kind of try to fudge somehow, you know?
Yeah. Normally, whenever I've stopped looking into it now, I'm not saying I've lost interest, but it's like you always come to the end of the road and go, all right, so it's to exercise control then. It's always the same reason. What's in it for them telling you the Earth's flat? Or not flat? Or lying about it? Well, control. That's what it always boils down to.
You mean why would they lie?
Yeah.
Why would they lie?
In almost all respects.
Why would they lie?
I mean,
why would they lie?
Well, there's the exceptions of Jupiter's delight in some instances. Now, they might just be my interpretation of someone who doesn't realise that they're actually revealing the truth in plain sight, subtly. They might just be completely blissfully unaware of it, and me reading too much into it. But other than Jupiter's delight, yeah, it's all about control. That's what it's always ever been about.
So
Well,
back to the
the
Toronto
clue
guy
in the
here.
Gregorian
Are you
calendar
saying
is
that when you're
the naming of the
looking
months.
at the moon and the sun in the same time, it's directly above your head or almost, that the moon actually disappears almost, say, below it hits 50 degrees?
I think he's asking you, Mr. Palmer.
Oh, sorry. I'm not sure in terms of degrees, but it's definitely above my head in what I would call like a 12 p.m., 1 p.m. from me looking up. Like it's nowhere
Okay,
near
so
the horizon
describe
by
that.
any means.
Describe that for me. So let me walk you through it. You're looking up, it's 12 p.m., 1
Sure.
p.m., either one works. And then it
80
disappears?
degrees, just like I said.
It just disappears,
Yesterday,
or
sorry.
does it start going towards the horizon and disappears as it's coming towards the horizon, or does it appear right above your head?
Right above my head, it kind of just sort of fades out. Like it just becomes more and more transparent. Like at 2 p.m., I can still half see it. Like it's still visible. 2:30, it's kind of almost very faint outline-ish looking, and then by 3 p.m., it's gone mid-sky.
Okay.
Like this
Well,
is
And it was a
exactly what I was
perfectly
talking
clear
about
day.
with chocolate. Go ahead, Tim. Sorry, I'll go ahead.
No, I was going to say yesterday I noticed a half moon during the day, and so I'll just be ready for it. I got you.
Perfect.
I've been
Thank you.
watching it so much, I can kind of feel when it's going to disappear based on its intensity. Like when it's like solid chalk white, it's like, oh, that thing is there.
Yeah.
But it's almost like when you get like muscle memory from seeing it just disappear so much. Like I was talking about the other day, how I looked up at it, it was there, and then 14 blocks later, I look up, looking in the same direction, it was gone.
I did the exact same
now
thing.
that didn't happen last night, Chocolate, because
I did the exact same
ended
thing.
Up being there.
I did the exact same thing yesterday with my child. So I was like, it looks pretty. There's a really clear sky. It's tipping it down with rain now, so I can't just go and do it now. But by the time I got my kid's attention to show it to her, it had gone. I was like, where the hell is it gone? Now, obviously, having this conversation now, you think, yeah, that reminds me. But precisely that is exactly what I did with Eleanor yesterday. I was like, come and have a look at the moon. It's really pretty, because it was out in the day. Gone.
So where does
I've
it
had
go?
a lot of those moments, and I'm like, didn't I just see that thing up there? Where the hell is it? Like, what?
So what does it just vanish?
Well, that's what we're trying to.
It seems like it does, man.
That's what Mr. Palmer's.
That's
Hold on, just one sec. That's what Mr. Palmer's pointing out. So this is something that presumably many of us will have observed, but just not thought about too much. A bit like being in a plane and going, I wish I could go higher. I can't see Earth curving. You're not really thinking about how flat you're seeing it. And likewise, you're not thinking about, well, it's disappeared. Where's it gone? What did it go behind? Not that we've got a heliocentric outlook either, but that's where it's led us. And Mr. Palmer's highlighting that so we can all now think about it. And perhaps people who are watching think, I'll point my camera at that and keep it in view and see what happens.
Well, I more so wanted to put it out there to hear the Globies' response, because in their narrative, the sun and the moon disappear over horizons. So how is it disappearing mid-sky?
I've never heard them talk about the moon disappearing over. Like they don't even talk about it.
They don't even touch
talk
that.
About. But check it out, right? So like it was in June when I first started moon watching, because it was like 3 days that I didn't know where the moon was. Now that's just like of my own ignorance. I could have just like pulled out like an app or something, but I just, you never know where it is, right?
No. I insist I interrupt. The moon, it's not through your own ignorance that you didn't know where the moon was. At new moon phase, the moon goes missing for everybody on Earth, no matter where you are. No one can see the moon.
It wasn't new moon phase.
Oh.
It wasn't that time. Yeah.
Sure, but this is an aside point. Just let Anthony make his point
sure.
anyway, because then I'm going to round up. Go ahead, Anthony.
I just want, even though you might not have known where it was, I just want to let you know that for 3 days or 2 to 3 days, nobody sees the moon at new moon phase anywhere on the Earth, which I find like impossible given the angles that we've all got. Somebody should be able to see it.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and Google panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!